Hi everybody, welcome to my channel Frugalisama. My name's Sam and this is where I talk about all things sewing. Today is day 77 of 100 days of sewing and it's another Frugal Friday, and I'll be taking another look at this week's Great British Sewing Bee, which is aired in the UK on the BBC on a Wednesdays, and I'll be looking at any free patterns that I can find that have been inspired by the bee. First of all, I'd just like to say thank you so much to everybody who's subscribed to my channel so far. If you haven't already subscribed, I generally chat about sewing on a budget, looking at making sewing a little bit more accessible, whether that's in terms of cost or whether it's in terms of skills. So usually on a Fridays I've got Frugal Fridays, currently looking at this Great British Sewing Bee, but I've got lots of videos looking at free patterns as well. Midweek I usually bring out hints and tips, and then on a Sundays I usually bring makes and reviews. So as well as looking at any free patterns inspired by the Great British Sewing Bee, I'm also looking at any discounts that I spotted this week, any giveaways or any challenges as well. So keep watching till the end. So this week was Winter Week on the Great British Sewing Bee, and we're down to 6 contestants now. So it's a little bit easier, and hopefully these videos will be a little bit shorter. So the first round, as always, is the pattern challenge, and the contestants this week had 4 3/4 hours to make a flannel shirt. So think checked lumberjack shirts basically, so nice and warm and cosy. So this particular pattern that they used, it actually had 17 pieces. So you've got your 2 back yokes, you've got your sleeves, you've got cuffs, you've got 2-piece collar, the stand and the collar, and a lot of patterns to match, so both vertically and horizontally, both across the front and at the sides. The judges were particularly looking for pattern matching on this one, and pattern matching on the yoke as well. So quite a difficult one, I think, in 4 3/4 hours, and I did notice that they were given a little bit extra time. So I think with this one, the bigger the check you went with for, the easier it would be. So I'll just do a quick overview of how the contestants went, and then we'll look at some patterns that maybe match for the actual pattern that was used. Serena had made a man's shirt before. I don't think she'd done the pattern matching before, but she had made a man's shirt before, and she came first on this one. They did say that hers was immaculately sewn. Damien followed about 95% of the rules, he said. Bless him. He got a pretty neat finish. I did notice he was sewing in his slippers this week. I've never noticed that before. Andrew did have a few problems matching across the front and just a bit of an untidy collar. So Rebecca chose smaller checks, and yeah, she only came 5th on hers. I think she had a bit of a problem matching across the front. Then we come on to Raf and Fari, both of whom didn't actually finish. And I think this is the first time we've seen Raf not actually finish something, and really struggled with it. He decided to put his outer yoke on the bias, which is something that is a legitimate thing to do, but they were particularly asked to match the checks. He didn't actually get downgraded for that, which I thought was a little bit odd. He did get praised for that, and it was just like, that's not what they were asked to do. So he didn't actually finish. He did seem a little bit defeated by this challenge, and I think he just had some buttons to put on, or it was more finished than Fari anyway. Fari, on the other hand, took her own sweet time cutting out, and she was cutting out for a very long time, and still had maybe the collar to put on and all the buttons and buttonholes as well. So although the judges said everything was very neat and very precise, it was only like 60% finish, so she came last on this one. Not unsurprisingly, really. So onto patterns, or free patterns, that I found for this challenge, and they probably drafted their own shirt for this particular one. There's numerous standard shirt patterns out there. Not many that are free that are like that particular one, because there are a lot of components to it. I found a free one and I found various other alternatives. So I'll start with the standard shirt pattern, and that is from Lakala. That's a good one actually. Although it's a Russian website, the instructions are in English. It is free, and the beauty of this one is that you can input your own sizes into it. That is including height and chest size and what have you. And the printing options are really good as well. So you've got A4 letter, A0, whatever you prefer. I think with Lakala you might have to pay extra if you want seam allowances on. I've never actually used their patterns. I keep meaning to, but I've never got around to it. Over on the Mood Society website, they've got pattern drafting for a shirt. So they've got a 3-part blog post where you input your own measurements, and then they've got a separate blog post for sewing it all up, which I thought was ideal for anybody who was a bit unusual sized. Whatever size you are, you would be able to get that to fit somebody because you're drafting it yourself. So I thought that was a good one to have, and also particularly good for people who don't particularly like downloading and printing things. I think that would be a good one because you'd be just drafting it yourself and drawing it out yourself. If you've got a Seamwork subscription, Seamwork have got the Negroni. That's just a very standard shirt. If you're already paying for the subscription, you might as well use that one. So I thought that was a good one to think about, because sometimes you forget about these subscriptions, don't you? And then if you're wanting something that is a shirt but a little bit more relaxed, Melly Sews has got a camp shirt. So a camp collar is without the collar stand, and it just sort of, the lapels form a V-neck. That is only one size, but it's quite oversized. They're not fitted out camp shirts, they're quite sort of loose fitting because it's supposed to be more of a holiday type shirt. And the code for that is Sew Summer, so it's SEWSUMM3R. I'll leave a link to that below if you're wanting to do a camp shirt. We've got the summer season coming up, so it might be a good one to practice on. The only shirt I've ever made has been a camp shirt. It was a Simplicity one, and very, very similar to the Melly Sews one. And that was inspired by the Great British Sewing Bee last year as well. I have found a woman's shirt as well, and that is in one of the sewing magazines. So I'll show a picture now as I'm talking, and I'll link that below as well. But it was a man's shirt, was this one that we're talking about. So yeah, you saw the contestants using the burrito method in this challenge, and that is just essentially when you've got two yoke pieces, an inner and outer, you trap in the shoulder seams from the front and the back shirt within that yoke seam, and it makes it all nice and neat on the inside. I have just actually written a blog post of how to do that for the fabric shop that I work for. If you're the sort of person that learns by reading and looking at pictures, I'll link to that blog post below for you. So onto the transformation round, which was transforming up to 5 winter scarves into a garment for an adult of any gender. I was a bit underwhelmed by this one, to be quite honest. The scarves that they were provided with were either knit or woven. The judges were looking for something with a bit of imagination, well thought out, and knowing when to stop, not to over embellish, I suppose, is what they meant by that. So we saw Raf flounder a little bit on this one. He's usually pretty good on the transformation round, and he just took a yellow and white striped scarf, a blue and white striped scarf, crossed it over at the front. I think he put some sort of way of like a hole to thread them through, and then just tied a scarf around the middle. Just really wasn't his best work, I don't think. Damien similarly just used one scarf and made kind of a tunic out of it with a V-neck, and then had loads of time left at the end, and then embellished it with loads of flowers and what have you, and it just looked a little bit weird. But at least he did some sewing. Serena did a big gladiator style thing with one big sleeve at the side. I'm sure I've seen something like that before. And Rebecca went for a skirt and a top. Judges said that they didn't marry well together. Andrew went for some chunky scarves and fashioned out a dress out of that. So you actually saw him unravel some of the wool and start almost sewing with the wool and what have you. So I think his was quite imaginative. His choice of colours made it look a little bit like a medieval tunic or something, but what he actually did, what he did with it, was a little bit more imaginative than just throwing a couple of scarves on a dummy. And Fari won that one for all her draping. I think her choice of scarves helped as well, because she had some animal printing, so it was a little bit more vibrant, a bit more exciting to look at. And she had some pleating going on. I'm pretty sure that she had a zip in it somewhere as well. So yeah, I think she deserved to win that one, because I think the others were just a little bit lost and floundering with it, really. So she won that with a judicious use of detail, according to the judges. So by the end of the transformation round, Rafa got 5th place in both of the rounds, so it was really floundering on this one. This is the first time I've seen him a little bit rattled. So the made to measure round was to make a festive party dress, so they particularly didn't say Christmas, they just said festive, and obviously winter was the theme. So they had 5 hours to make this, and I think they were testing the use of different fabrics, such as you know, your opulent fabrics like brocades and velvets and laces and things like that. So they were you were going to a party, it's winter, it's cold, you want sleeves, you don't want that little strappy summer dress. So I'm going to start with the patterns that I actually spotted, so I know which patterns that they used. And that was Damien's. He actually saw the pattern number, and it's such an unusual type of dress to have a zip down the front. There's very few patterns with a zip down the front. He used a Burda 6452. It had like a high funnel neck, princess seams going down into the waist, and then quite a fitted skirt. Used a wool tweed with it had like a purple check running through it, and then picked out the purple in the lining. So because of how the neck sat, you could see the flashes of the lining coming through, so it was really nice and effective. And the zip, you could pull it from the top and the bottom, so it was like, you know, his idea was that you could go to it in the office, then unzip it a little bit and be a little bit more sexy for the office party. And he did get a really good fit on it. He was chuffed to bits with himself. He does come across as being a little bit overconfident, but I think that's probably editing. The only dress that I've made like that is the Beryl bomber dress by, I think this is Named Patterns. This zip looks really out of place on the camera, but it does match a bit better. Yeah, and I hardly ever wear this. I don't really know why. But yeah, it's not really like it, but it's got pockets. The nice thing about this is how it goes across at the shoulder there. I might wear that tomorrow if it's cold enough. Anyway, that's not a free pattern. And as you can imagine, it's quite difficult to find a free pattern with such complex details in it as that. I have found a tutorial of how to convert a dress to put a zip in the front. It is only the bodice part rather than going all the way down the front, and that's from Sew in Love. So I will link to that for you. It does seem to be more common in vintage patterns, like 1970s patterns. So if you've got some old vintage patterns that you might have in your stash, have a look for something like that. Not free, but a very similar one from La Carla, and it's only $3.49, which converts to about £2.50. La Carla 2210. So yeah, no free pattern for that one. I didn't think I'd find anything for that. It's quite unusual. Both Andrew and Farah used a purple velvet. I think Patrick is famous for not liking purple for whatever reason. Andrew's was a cotton, a really nice quality cotton one. He used a very, very simple shift dress which had long sleeves and then came out into a bell shape at the bottom. And then he'd actually fell foul of ordering fabric online. I'd ordered some organza to put a bow at the bottom of the bell, and when it came it was quite floppy. So he decided to make his bows in the velvet and then trim it with like a silver trim, which looked a bit naff, to be honest. And unfortunately one of the bows fell off as the model was walking down the catwalk, so it was a little bit of a moment. Yeah, so yeah, it was a very elegant looking dress, and it suited the model really well. For some reason it didn't do a great deal of pressing, or it didn't have time to do pressing, which puzzles me really, because there wasn't that much to do. There wasn't a lot of work, there wasn't a lot of detail on that dress. It had an invisible zip going down the back, and a good pressing would have made it look a lot better. I've got a couple of options for this one because it is just a simple shift dress. So the first one is one called the Gloria from Love Sewing magazine, and that has got the bell sleeves. The one in the magazine is actually in a gingham, quite a big gingham with pockets, but obviously you'd miss off the pockets, but it has got the bell sleeves. There's a Copen dress by Made to Sew, which used to be a free dress pattern. It's just 50p now to download. The beauty of that one is it's been released as a teaching tool. So if you're quite new to dressmaking, you want to learn a lot of techniques within it, it is a really good one to use. So you would have to amend the sleeve slightly, but it is just a shift dress, and you could do what you like with that. Then you could just extend the sleeves. And then my final one is on a website called Tianas Closet. And she's got a really good wide size range. It goes from 32-inch bust to a 41-inch bust, and petite sizes as well. and that is just a long sleeve shift dress. Again, you'd have to put the belt sleeves at the bottom, but there's lots and lots of videos of showing you how to do that. So a couple of options there, not exact matches, but I would say close enough. I keep forgetting to say it is quite difficult to get an exact match when you're looking for free patterns. You're having to make do with something that's there or thereabouts, not exact. So Fari also went for a purple velvet, but hers was a stretch velvet, and she was very much depending on the stretch within the fabric to give her some fit. So hers was a wrap at the front, with a big tie belt around the middle, pleats into the skirt, and it was a fitted skirt with these beautiful balloon sleeves. She used a Vogue pattern, 8825. You could see quite a lot of snippets of some of these patterns this week, so it's quite easy to find some of these. And also Minerva sent an email out the same evening. I could match up the pictures that I saw with what they'd sent out. So yeah, she was really very much depending on the stretch in the fabric to give her some fit, because don't forget this is a made to measure round, and they can look nice but they've got to fit as well. She didn't try hers onto her model until it was time to actually get dressed, and luckily it did fit, but unluckily it had a big hole in the bodice. She decided to sew straight onto her serger or overlocker, and yeah, she'd either missed a bit or cut through a bit. I think she'd missed a bit actually in the pleating at the front. So it was a gaping hole at the front. So I can't find an exact match on this one. I can find the bodice and I can find the sleeves, but I can't find the skirt part of it. I've got two options here from Mood. One is the Rue dress from Mood, and that has got the wrap bodice and the balloon sleeves. But then it's got quite a wide A-line skirt with a big split, which is actually really quite nice. And then there is another one that's been made in a velvet, which I thought would be really nice as well. And that's the Nyasa, N-Y-S-S-A, Nysa, and that's got a wrap style bodice as well, but it hasn't got the sleeves. You can change the skirts to reflect the one that Fari had, or you can keep them as they are, they're lovely as they are. So Rebecca went for a quite simple fit and flare dress. So by fit and flare I mean something like this, fitted bodice, flare skirt, and then she put a lace overlay over the top. So the skirt that she had was pleated rather than gathered, but you can change that. If you've got anything like this with a gathered skirt, they tend to be just big rectangles, so you can pleat them rather than gather them if you prefer. I've got loads of these. One of the reasons why I stopped subscribing to Sew magazine is I seem to get a fit and flare dress nearly every week, so I ended up cancelling. So what she did was ended up making two dresses, because she actually put a lace overlay over the top, and she got a fantastic fit on hers. So yeah, very simple dress, but I would argue that her fit was lovely, and she actually made two dresses. And I was a little bit disappointed that she got a little bit overlooked on that one, but I felt a little bit sorry for her. So she used the New Look 6392, and again you could see the picture of it, so it was quite easy. You could see it was a New Look, because New Look had got this distinctive red tab at the top, and you could see the picture, so yeah, I knew it was that one. She did actually copy one of the designs on it. There is an actual design with the lace overlay, so maybe she's getting downgraded for not using enough imagination, I don't know. It is a bit annoying. A couple of options for that one, and French Navy, I've got the Orla dress, and that is a bit looser fitting, I would say, and it has got the gathered skirt, but like I say, you can change gathers into pleats very, very easily. Or La Carla, again, I've got the 4278, and that is almost spot on. Again, that's not free, it is $3.49, which is £2.50. But I reckon if you've ever got any of these magazines, you've probably got something very, very similar in your stash. If you do want something that's free, Mood have got the elderberry. Now that isn't quite the same, because it's like a spaghetti strap, and it is very, very fitted bodice. But it's got that lace overlay, so that's a really nice one if you're wanting something that's got a lace overlay. So another one that we got a glimpse of the picture of was Raf's, and this was a really unusual design. That was a New Look 6571, and it had a square neckline. And when he was cutting the pieces out, you could see that there was gaps in the bodice, kind of forming the princess line down into the waist. The waist and the bodice were attached, there was not two separate pieces. There were some darts at the back as well. Really unusual design, this one. He had long sleeves or 3/4 sleeves with pleats in, which were reflected in the top of the skirt. What was distinctive about his was this big bow that went across the front, that was caught into the side seams, and then it had side pockets as well. So double whammy for Esme there, because it had pockets and a big bow. I mean, it was bound to win. You did see him, whilst he was constructing it, trying it onto his model, and she was stepping into it and he couldn't get it on, and for the life of me I can't think why he wasn't putting it over her head. Anyway, he released some of the darts to make it fit better. It did have a decent fit on the waist. I would argue that it didn't fit particularly well across the bust and the shoulders, but it didn't seem to get picked up on that one. So no free pattern for this one. This pattern is about £8.75 and there's 3 options on it, and it's that unusual that I think it's actually good value for money as that one. And if it's the sort of thing that you like, I'd invest in that one. He used a really nice gold brocade, and I think that's available at Minerva as well. So finally on to Serena's, and she used a green Duchess satin, which again she fell foul of buying online. Remember, these have been made during the pandemic, so contestants couldn't go to shops and buy the fabrics. They had to order online, and when her fabric arrived it was a lot thinner, or lot less body to it than she anticipated, so I had to block fuse it all with fusible interfacing. So you know what I'm going to say. Yeah, she got some bubbles in it, which was completely unavoidable. I mean, there's nothing you could do about it. It was a real shame. The design of it was really, really nice. It was a tuxedo type blazer dress. So she always has a little bit of backstory, does Serena. She was inspired by Villanella from Killing Eve by a green robe. If you look at the picture of the green robe, what she made is nothing like, it's just an inspiration. So double-breasted sort of blazer type dress, asymmetrical hem. The pattern that she used, it was a McCall 7997. It's got the asymmetrical part to it. The only thing different is that I think she used a different sleeve for it. She must have drafted her own sleeves, because not only was it really square at the shoulders, but it was asymmetric at the sleeve, at the cuff as well. So I bet you think I can't find a free pattern for it. Well, I can. So Good Old Mood have got about 3 options for you here. The Fig has got the lapel. Whereas Serena's was quite big and boxy, the Fig is quite fitted and it's single-breasted. But I thought I'd include it because it is a really nice dress, is this one. It's got this faux welt pocket, and the colours that they've done it in is really attractive. Lots of princess seams, so you can get a really good fit on it as well. The Setaria is a little bit closer. This is double-breasted and you'd need to lengthen it. I'd call this a jacket, they're calling it a dress. They do something on Mood called the Redux, and they've done about 3 or 4 different versions of this, so they've different sleeve lengths, and you would have to do something to make it asymmetric, and I don't think I'd ever find an asymmetric one. And then they've got the Tansy trench coat, which has got the sleeve, it's got that pointed sleeve on it. Also, I found a blog post called Shapes of Fabric, which has got lots and lots of sculptural sleeve ideas on there, showing you how to draft your own different sleeve patterns. So I'll leave a link to that below as well for you. So quite a few options on that one, and yeah, it did look really good. Again, I would argue that it looked a bit on the big side. I think in terms of fit, both Rebecca and Damien did better than either Raf or Serena. In terms of impact and drama, then yes, Serena's and Raf's were probably nicer. Serena probably got knocked down because of the bubbling on the fabric, which is a little bit unfair because she couldn't do anything about that. Raf's looked good. Yeah, he did get Garment of the Week. I think it was a little bit controversial about Andrew getting sent home. He had a finished garment in the first round. He came second in the second round, the transformation round. His garment, yes, that bow fell off, but that wasn't a biggie. It wasn't a hole in the front of the dress, and he did finish. I'll leave it at that. Right, so on to some discounts and competitions now. So it is a bank holiday weekend in the UK this weekend, so a lot of UK companies will be having sales. So my top tip this weekend is, if you've got a favourite fabric shop or pattern company, have a look either on their Instagram page or sign up to the newsletters and see if they've got anything going on this weekend. because you never know. I can't possibly include them all. Also in the US, I think it's Memorial Weekend, so if you've got a favourite US company, do the same. So I'll just do a few that I've come across and we'll go from there. So Charm Patterns, which is Gretchen Hertz or Gertie's pattern company, she's got 20% off. She's got a couple of new patterns out. One of them is the Cinch It dress. That's like a popover dress. That goes from A to H cup, and it's like a trapeze shape. The bust goes from 30.5 inches up to 54.5 inches. But the waist, because it's trapeze shape, it's cinched in with either shearing or a belt. It is quite a loose fitting one, which is made to look fitted with the shaping of the belt. So that's 20% off with the code Spring Fling, and that's everything on her website, including accessories, until the 1st of June. Thrata Davis has also got 20% off until the 31st of May. She's not got a massive amount of patterns, and she's been doing something all throughout May. Every Wednesday in May she's been giving 20% off, so this is everything until the end of May. And Liz Haywood has got a new pattern out. Liz Haywood is, I think she's Australian or New Zealand, I always get it wrong, I'm sorry. She has got a new pattern out called the Sandy Shirt, which I thought I'd mention because I've been talking about shirts. And this is great for anybody who doesn't like actually downloading patterns, because it is a zero or near zero waist shirt where you draw straight onto your fabric. And the unusual design is this one, a little bit different, fairly unorthodox. You can make a shirt in 1.5 metres, that's brilliant, depending on your sizing. And there's no side seams on it. That's 25% off until the end of May. So that is for a 34-inch bust up to a 60-inch bust. She has styled it so that you could do it as a man's or a lady's shirt. And like I say, a good one if you don't like sticking together a lot of pages because you're drawing straight onto your fabric. Fieldwork Patterns, they've got 20% off until the 14th of June. Her prices are going up due to VAT in Europe, so that's why she's got 20% off now, and then her prices will go up. So if there's anything on her website that you particularly like, get it now. And the code for that is loyalty. And then I don't know how to pronounce this company, Ploen, Ploen, I don't know. They've got 15% off until the 31st of May. I think she is taking everything off at Etsy and putting it over onto her website. So somebody else who's not got a lot of patterns, but a nice small pattern company that you might not have discovered before, so worth a look. So 2 final little discounts, and these are local ones. So if you're in the Yorkshire area, I thought I'd just give them a shout out. One is for Lucky Fashions in Dewsbury. She doesn't normally open on a Monday, but the last couple of bank holiday Mondays, she opens the shop up and there's 20% off everything. I've got some linen from her that's normally £5 a metre, it cost me £4, so I will definitely be there on Monday. And then the fabric shop that I work for, Fabricate, we very rarely have sales, but she does have a birthday sale on, and that's 20% off. That is online only. I nearly died of heart attack when she thought she was asking me to come in on Monday, but no, we're doing it online, so I'm going to be busy Wednesday when I go in. We do ship internationally, but obviously there'll be shipping costs on that one, so I just have a look. You don't have to be local for the Fabricate one, but for the Lucky Fashions one, it's a long way to come to Yorkshire. Right, finally a couple of Instagram challenges for you, and Like So Amazing is running a little challenge called Snip, Snap, Sew, and that is until the 6th of June, and it's encouraging people to take pictures of the makes. They don't have to be new makes, but it coincides with Me Made May, and just trying to find different ways of taking photographs. So you just need to use that hashtag, tagging Like So Amazing, and there's loads and loads of prizes. So I'll very, very quickly tell you some of them. So you've got patterns by Hand London, Abbott Seamstress, Jennifer Lauren, Closet Car, Deer and Doe, Megan Nielsen, and then you've got Experimental Space as well, and then prizes from So Dainty and the Pink Coat Club and Kylie and the Machine. There's like 20 prizes on that, all randomly drawn. So the patterns will be international. She hasn't said that, I don't think, but they will be international. There's also a £30 voucher to be won for Like So Amazing, and that one is judged. So if you use your imagination, you might be in for winning up to £30 worth of fabric on that one, or a voucher for it. And then finally, shout out for Jo, who is So Joey, who's also got a YouTube channel. She contacted me and she's got a t-shirt for summer challenge running throughout June. So you can either do short sleeve t-shirt, long sleeve t-shirt, t-shirt dress. Particularly good if you're going into autumn winter down under. And it's just an Instagram challenge where she's asking you to post between the 1st and the 30th of June, tagging in Jo and using the hashtag t-shirt for summer. So she's got lots and lots of prizes for this. She's done really well because she's done all this on her own. She's specifically said this is an international challenge, so she's got lots of patterns like closet core, winter wear designs, and then she's got vouchers for Beyond the Pink Door and Pigeon Wishes as well. I'll show a little graphic of that whilst I'm talking, and then you can see what's available. So I do plan on doing a video at some point during June to inspire you for free t-shirt patterns. There's loads and loads out there. I've sewn a lot, so I thought it might be useful for you to see which ones might be a good one to have a go at. So look out for that video in June, and have a look at Jo's YouTube channel as well. You might get some inspiration from their hair as well. Right, so just finally, one free pattern that's come up whilst I was doing my research. That's a new one from Peppermint magazine. It's called the Paddington top, which is by French Navy. That has got puffed raglan sleeves, which is quite unusual. It's quite a cropped boxy top, and it's got buttons down the back. It's designed for woven fabrics, either light to medium weight, and obviously whatever you use will affect how the puffs sit. So if you don't want it too poofy, go for something more floppy like a viscose. If you want it to stand out, a cotton would be good. And they're saying you need 1.6 to 2 metres for that one. So yeah, there's no darts in it, and it's elasticated around the bottom of the cuff. So I thought I'd just slip that one in because it's just come up this weekend. Right, so that's it from me. I hope you all have a lovely bank holiday, and I shall hopefully come back on Sunday with my makes for May, and I shall speak to you later. Thank you for watching. Bye. Snip, snap, no, snip, sap.